an onslaught of what has been increases in cybercrime and also some business scams that we're seeing as well. Feel free to contact me for any reason, or if you're having any kind of issues or want to know more about the BBB. Right now, as we get going, I'd like to introduce Richard and Brandon. They're the leaders of an amazing, amazing technology company called Sagin. I can't speak highly enough of this company and these two gentlemen. And Rich and Brandon have been also at the forefront. They do webinars all the time trying to help business owners protect their business and fight off cybercrime and deal with a lot of the other technology issues. And Rich, Brandon, you want to say a couple of words at the beginning, and then we'll just get up and rolling and take your questions at any time.
Thanks, Tom. So basically, my name is Richard Stepniewski. I'm the CEO of Sagin here in Chicago, and we provide IT managed services to small to mid-sized businesses. In fact, one of our clients is the Better Business Bureau. So all of the IT and technology support for the Better Business Bureau of Chicago is provided by our firm. And so we'll be providing some additional commentary as Tom goes through his slides.
And thank you as well. This is Brandon Patrick. I am the director of our IT managed services practice, and am very much hands-on with all of our clients that need or have technology needs. And to Tom's point, with everything that's going on, there has been a drastic increase in cybercrime. That's a little bit of the bad news, but the good news is it's not necessarily anything new, but there's a lot of things that you have to be careful of that we'll be going through here today.
So with that, I'd like to go through some of the things that we're seeing right now. And I want to emphasize we're here for two reasons: to protect your business, give you some vital information in this time where cybersecurity and just avoiding some of these bad actors is so important. But also, anytime anybody spends money with one of these bad companies or outright scammers or gets cyber attacked, it actually takes money away from the good businesses. So this is really a deep meaning for the BBB and its core mission to help consumers and business owners. So I just want to walk you through some of the things that we're seeing. A couple of years ago, we did this huge study, and we found out in 2018 of small businesses that only 50% of those owners said that they could stay in business for 3 months if they suffered a significant cyber attack where someone stole their data or they got held for ransomware. Fast forward that to today, and it's just twofold with the crisis that we're facing. And so we really want people to be careful. We're seeing so much stuff out there that we want you to let your families, your business owners, your vendors, your customers, when you can, know about. We're seeing everything from fake checks arriving in the mail, people contacting people now through text, they're contacting people through social media, and they're contacting people through the telephone. Yesterday alone, I checked out our BBB scam tracker, which we'll check in a couple of minutes, and literally there were 3 fake invoice scams in our BBB scam tracker. And that's where a fake company, literally, and they're really trying to cash in on COVID because they know a lot of people aren't in the office. They literally will send a company an invoice. It's fake invoice. It's for a small amount of money, maybe $299. And so we're seeing a lot of that now. And we really want you to, A, beware, or tell your employees and pass along this information. Check it out before you send any money. And Brandon, Rich, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, the 2 forms of cybercrime that this is coming through are we would call phishing and vishing. That starts with a V as in Victor. Phishing is where they will try to send very specific targeted emails to you, just as Tom described, where and you're seeing an example there on the screen where they might say that they are trying to deliver their check. You just need to click this link to provide your bank account information. So you really need to be careful of that and make sure that anytime you receive emails that are containing any kind of link to provide personal information, to always try to check the source. Sometimes you can see that in the address bar if you do click the link and where it's referring you to. Just know that banks will never send you an email with a link in it asking for information. They just don't do that. And then vishing is the same thing, and that's what you're seeing a picture of here on the slide. is you might get a text message, same sort of thing. It says, here's, $1,000 to help you pass the outbreak. Click this link. Anytime you see that, be extremely skeptical. Banks do not send that type of text.
And I imagine everyone attending this webinar gets a daily email saying your bank account has been shut down, your Netflix has been shut down, your Amazon, whatever it may be. I haven't seen a day where that hasn't happened at least once. So never click on those links because they lead to a lot of problem, malware and other things. I'm sorry, I keep going the wrong way here. So business email compromise. What this is right now, and I really want to, warn people that businesses, and it could be phishing or spear phishing, where they go in directly to a company, get the list of employees. We've actually had this happen to the BBB before, where they'll go in and they can find our revenue director, they can find our CFO, and they literally can send a message to one of your employees saying, hey, listen, I need the personnel records. Can you send them over? Or I'd like everybody to have a gift card or send money. And you think it's actually coming from your boss unless you look real closely. And Brandon, Richard, you see that kind of stuff all the time with all your clients probably.
Yeah, and this is, again, one of the main things that we see on the rise here. When I began, I mentioned that, the cybersecurity threats are on the rise, but the what isn't all that anything new. What I mean by that is the channels in which you protect yourself against these types of things haven't really changed that much. But first, let me just explain two quick concepts. When we define threats, they really fall into two different types of categories. There's malware and social engineering. Malware is just a shortened form of malicious software. So most people are familiar with the term virus or spyware. We've heard ransomware has been the buzzword in the last year. Those are all forms of what we would call malware or malicious software. That is just a software that's designed to inflict harm on your computer. And I think these days, most companies, organizations, individuals that have some form of antivirus running on your computer, you are protected against these things. What is more challenging is what we would refer to as social engineering. So, before we mentioned phishing and phishing and email scams like this, what this is not necessarily something that is perceived by a systematic means, a threat, an email. It might come from a source that seems legitimate, but that's their way of trying to trick you. They want to send messages that ask for personal or sensitive data that they can use against you. And it's more or less, like the term itself, social engineering. They're trying to make you believe something so that you provide that information. And sometimes it can be very tricky. So for example, you might receive an email from Tom at bb.b.org that, that additional dot between the three BBBs is enough that an everyday user might not catch that. So the way that you protect yourself against these is, of course, spam filters. That is what deletes or gets rid of approximately 50% of the email traffic in the world on a daily basis. And if you do have an IT professional in your organization, making sure that whenever you receive emails that seem illegitimate, that you report them, because they would also have an administrative means to update your spam filter settings so they get stronger and better over time. Against this type of stuff, that's the best thing that you can do.
And I come out of the my experience before BBB and working for City Hall for a while was in the news business, and we always had two sayings before you ran with the story: get a second source, verify it, and if your mother says she loves you, check it out. So it's really important that you don't take emails on face value, and that's been one of the issues. Working from home. A lot of businesses and their employees, of course, we're sitting at home, and I'd really like Rich and Brandon to address this, because you're sitting at home, I'm sitting at home. We're lucky enough to be really protected by Sagin at work, but here we are at home, And we're getting all these urgent emails, your COVID relief check, your, hey, we've got a 0% business loan from the SBA, which is, a big series of fake emails we've seen coming into business owners. So do you guys want to address just, some of the hazards of working from home as most of the people attending today are doing exactly that?
Yeah, and I guess what I would say is maybe similar to before is that at home, like Tommy had said, people are more or seem to be more vulnerable. Typically, when you're in an office setting, you have just a simple social aspects of, hey, I got this email from the CEO. Is that legitimate? Did you get one too? When with the absence of that, it makes you just a little bit more vulnerable or susceptible to attacks. So it's always really important to do the things that are listed here. Make sure that your security on your computer is up to date and running. And I think one of the things that we've seen most frequent these days is that when people are working from home, there's been this fluid concept of working hours. I know I feel this way sometimes. I don't know if any of you all do, where you may start earlier than you would have normally arrived in the office because you're absent of a commute. Same thing at the end of the day. So your day kind of bleeds into the rest of business. So, it's sorry, I just had a glitch here. But anyway, so yeah. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry, apologies. I am also working from home, and therefore I keep having a network timeout error message that keeps popping up. Rich, do you mind speaking to this 1 second while I fix this?
Sure, not a problem. So, the biggest and the most important thing when working at home and the emails that you receive and you question the source, the most important thing is never click through on an email. If it looks like it came from your bank or that, go directly to your bank or call your bank and verify if they sent that. But 99% of the time, your bank is not going to contact you. Now, for some of the people on the call who may have applied for the PPP loans and that, depending on who your bank was, a lot of those communications did go through emails. And I know in working with a lot of other small businesses out there that a lot of them questioned it. Is this real? Did this email really come from Chase or that? And so what I always suggest is don't click through the email, but go directly to your online banking site and log in there and see what communications were coming in directly from there. That way, you're going directly to the source. Because also another problem during these times, especially with some banking institutions as it regards to the PPP loans, a lot of the institutions, especially ones like Chase, I know communicated the fact that don't call us because there will be nobody here to answer your call. In that particular case, again, the best way to get more direct information was if you do receive an email, read the email in that, but don't go through that, and then log in directly to the online banking portal and receive the communications through there. That is the safest route.
Good. And, I just want to talk just for a second about with this whole coronavirus crisis that we're going through. We're just seeing so many fake websites. It takes, we have been fighting just a wild surge in people will pop up with a website and they'll put it up, they'll sell masks, they'll sell COVID tests, they'll sell all of this stuff. They'll take the money and they'll be gone in a flash, right? And so just be really careful of this kind of stuff. And, it's coming through on your cell phones now. Do not click links on cell phones. The other one that we're seeing is hey, wow, did you see this video up on Facebook? And I mean, really be careful and just avoid links. And if you think a friend sent that to you, just contact a friend directly, kind of like what Rich was saying. We have so many fraudulent sites, I can't tell you. The numbers coming into BBB, we just did a huge round of media with every TV and radio station in town. 90% of every scam right now being reported to BBB, and this just all changed in March and April. 90% of the stuff coming in is fake products, fake. We've got the mask, we've got your N95s. They don't deliver. They're never going to deliver because they're a fake website. They look authentic. It only takes a second to do that, and we see people impersonating the World Health Organization, Centers for Disease Control, and then the other type, it's all COVID and online scams. It's just unbelievable the amount of problems that we're seeing. We talked about the fake calls, the fake phishing calls. We've got tests, we got treatments, credit card for shipping, offers from your favorite store. This is one businesses should really watch out for too. Businesses, we're seeing some of these texts just come in from businesses and say, hey, listen, we know there's a lot of pressure. We want to reward you for distancing, and here's a $20 coupon for our store. And I mean, they're picking everybody. They first started picking on Starbucks and Netflix, and here's a refund, and now they're picking on all kinds of businesses. Watch out too, contact sources directly. Never click on a link that says, hey, we've got you've been approved for a grant for small business, and you've been approved for a low-cost loan, or we've got refund money, because when you go into that application, they ask for all of your information. So even if you don't lose money, it's really important that you don't give up all your personal information. I want to talk a little bit. Go ahead, Rick.
Jump in here. There was a question I saw that came over through the chat, and one of the questions was regarding social media scammers, and this is and what can you do to protect yourself and prevent fraud from that perspective. One of the things as it relates to social media goes back to what my colleague Brandon was mentioning about, and that was social engineering. And two aspects here. One, because of the amount of antivirus software that's out there and everything else, people are more protected, so that's better. However, so what's happening is now there's becoming more opportunities to take advantage of somebody through social media. Because actually when you're operating on, let's say like Facebook or that, you're actually more vulnerable. And you'll see very often, one of the things that Tom mentioned was in Facebook Messenger, you may receive a video, say, oh, watch this video, and it is sent by one of your friends. And what that means is actually that friend's account was compromised, and then it was sent out to you to gain access to your information. And as Tom mentioned earlier, if that does happen, the best thing to do is contact your friend first and verify, hey, did you send this to me? And odds are enough they probably had their account compromised and they need to change their password. The other aspect from a social engineering perspective is it's actually a non-technical way of scamming you. Is a lot of people tend to be very vocal on what they do. So, oh, I just bought this one item from this one store or that, or brag about purchases that they made. Or when we could travel regularly, they would check in and say, oh, I took this trip here, I checked into this Marriott hotel and blah, blah, blah. What's happening is somebody who's reading your social media feed will then contact those businesses and pretend over the phone, so it's not technical, over the phone, and pretend they are you. And they would say, oh, you know what, I think I forgot this in the room that I checked in. Yeah, I can't remember the address I had on file. Could you guys see if it's in there and send it? And then people voluntarily give away your information unbeknownst, thinking it's you. And then what they'll do is they'll take that information because it's all verifiable, and then it'll say, oh, I'll go to your frequent traveler account or your mileage account, and I'll get things transferred over to me, and so forth. So they're obtaining information based upon stuff that you're voluntarily providing in your social media posts. And so that's why I would say is just be very cautious of what you actually post. And
can I add on to that as well, too? is one of the other things you want to be careful of with social media is also where it takes you. So most people don't understand this, but there's, a hacker, just like any other legitimate business, can create advertisements. They can do that on Google and they can do it on social media, just the way that any other user can. They themselves are a user. So, one of the things that we always recommend is try to avoid ads at all costs unless you can really tell that it's something that seems legitimate. But malicious advertising is one of the #1 ways too, besides like phishing, for example, in which people are tricked into getting some form of malicious software on their computer, because an executable file can just be as simple as clicking on the link for that advertisement. And the other thing too is, even if the advertisement is legitimate, you need to be careful of where you go. So social media, and this is why I bring this one up, because let's say somebody posts an article about something from an entertainment magazine. You click that and you go to the article, and it seems very legitimate. But a lot of the entertainment sources that are out there, besides maybe one of the main ones that you might know that also tie to a TV station, they don't have the technology team or the technology built into their software for that news site that can really scan through and detect malicious advertising in the ads that they allow on their site. So you might, from social media, click on that link that your friend posted, read the article, and then see the next top 10 things that Jennifer Lopez did on her vacation and think, oh, I want that too. And then you click that, and then that's how you can also find yourself in a difficult position where you might be susceptible to malicious advertising, which takes you to the malware that we talked about earlier.
And I just want to tell everybody, we have a thing called Scam Tracker. You can see it up here on your screen, bbb.org/scam tracker. And you can see all the bubbles over there. You can literally drill down to almost your neighborhood and find out what's going on. But if you click Chicagoland, you can see a lot of the scams being reported. It's really important in many ways, because we literally watch this thing every single day. And if we see a trend, we'll oftentimes have a quick meeting, and we can get into Chicago newsrooms and have stories generated really fast to try to alert people to this kind of thing. And in cases of bad businesses, really bad businesses, we can also work with the Attorney General's office. We worked with BACP before, and we try to keep each other posted of any bad actors. But if you see something, if you just take a moment and report it to us, because you may be the first one that reports something to us that becomes like a really big trend, and we can watch this. So I urge you to go in. First off, you'll find it fascinating, because you can see, and it'll really be amazing for you to see how many fake websites are up there, and people are actually, saying, my God, I've been trying for 3 weeks and these guys won't return my money. And, we have to inform the consumers, hey, this wasn't even a real company. So check it out, report it if you see something, it'd be great. The only real other thing that I'd like people to take note of here in the website, bbb.org is a great resource for you. You can check businesses out, and you can also contact us in case you see something like this. But you can go see most of the businesses in Chicago have a profile, and they have reviews, and they have ratings up there. This is an absolutely free resource for you to check out. And then, just talking positive on a note, think about how you can help small businesses, and really, with the restaurants in your neighborhood, the ones that are available, really try to do business with small businesses, try to do business with people directly. I know I live in the South Loop of Chicago, and I know a lot of our shops, they're not open right now, but you can actually go online, call them, and put in an order, and, they'll hand something out the door. So, and really feel free when you encounter a really good business and you're having a great business deal, just go on to bbb.org, do a quick online review. And again, you can check out any businesses, some of these fake mask companies, and some of these people selling bad product have been around long enough to actually have a bad rating with the BBB, and there's warnings up about their companies. And if you check that out before something happens, you can save yourself not only a lot of time and trouble. So also get to know bbb.org is a great resource. Trust at this point in time, especially with this COVID crisis, has never been more important. So with that, I guess I'll have chit chat with Brandon and Rich here a little bit to see if you have any closing thoughts. And please, if you have questions, ask us. They are on the front lines and technical experts, and they are on the front lines of cybercrime and what you can do to protect your business. And we're on the receiving end of just, a lot of information that's coming in right now.
Sure. There is one last thing that is pretty important that we haven't touched on just yet, and that's how you protect yourself against that social engineering. And I guess what I was trying to explain before I cut off in summary, is that there's this blend that is happening right now of personal and professional time, and it does make you a little bit less aware of what's happening with social media searches, with checking your own personal email, work email, etc. But there is one mechanism that is about 99% effective, and it's called multi-factor authentication. Many of you, if you bank at a large bank, most of these have them whenever you go online. For example, you enter your username and credentials. That would be one factor, as we refer to it in multi-factor authentication. And then you get a text message with a special code that you would enter to validate that that's you on that website. That is, by definition, a second factor. So most online services, if not all these days, do have that service or feature available. We highly recommend enabling that, because with all those examples that we just gave today, let's say you accidentally click on the link that came in the email or the text message, and it asks you to log in with your email and password. If you have that set up, it will appropriately ping you and tell you to enter the password, or say, hey, somebody's trying to do this, and you'll be able to stop it. So that is the number one thing that we recommend doing. So please make sure that you do that. And again, the whole at home and blending this personal and professional. One of the things that's commonly getting forgotten now is just the simple restart of your computer. So I get it. You're at home. You're on your computer all day. Then you just kind of walk away and make dinner. But when you're in their office, you might be used to shutting down your computer as you leave to go home for the day. So that is that other thing that's very important, is just simply making sure that you restart your computer or turn it off, turn it back on, so that important updates that happen on a weekly basis are reaching your computer. So those two things I would say, are the kind of the big two takeaways for protecting yourself during this time.
Yep. So I'm reading again the questions in the chat here. A couple of common ones. Tom, I'm glad you put up this slide, because one of the questions is there a service provider resource hub, or that these are just some of the important links that are out there that are resources that are available to you. Another question was regarding is how do you report international scammers, and is there a way to report them? I don't know, Tom, if you have an answer to that. I know the government does have a complaint site that you could report those, such as the FCC and FTC, depending on the nature of the issue.
Yeah, the FTC is a great resource here, and I'm sorry I don't have their link here, but I'm pretty sure it's just ftc.org. BBB we're a nonprofit. We're not actually a government agency. A lot of people don't know that, but we work with a lot of government agencies, and we speak on a fairly regular basis with groups from the FBI, the IC3, which is an investigative unit of the FBI, the FTC, and different states' attorneys. And so if you report it to us, that's great, because we'll radiate that message out to the crowd. But to report international scammers, I would say the fastest, most direct approach would be go to the FBI, and they have a wing called the IC3 which really deals with international scammers. And if they're able to stop something fast enough, even if you wire money, it's pretty fast. So it has to be within 48 or 36 hours. They can actually do some good for you, but they really crack down on the international crime a lot.
Yeah. A couple other questions on here was asking about how do you protect yourself better when presented with the scams of trying to shop for a better interest rate on refinancing your home during this time. Well, I have to say that's definitely a common scam that's out there. Some could be legit, but a lot of times it could be asking for more information about you, and in order to give you that quote of the rate, which is just a fake quote. But there are, I would suggest going back directly to your bank, contacting banks directly, and shopping what rates are actually available and out there. It's also another common thing is a lot of times you're giving away information, and again, it's a non-technical aspect of it, because a common scam that was occurring on Facebook lately was people posted, and you probably have seen this, people posting photos of themselves when they were in high school. So there's a picture of them currently and then a picture of them when they were in high school, and said, oh yeah, this is the high school I went to. Well, then what people would do from a social engineering standpoint, they would contact that school, that high school, and say, I'm so-and-so, and I need to get a copy of my transcript and everything. And so they would get your actual background information and that sent to them. So then, and they are completing elements of the puzzle to ultimately get to some personal information that could be used to verify you. So that's another thing to be constantly aware of, is you're going onto these links, or that if you're playing a game on Facebook and you're really actually providing additional information about yourself, is to be very much well aware of that. Another aspect for a small business owner, I would say, to protect yourself, and again, this is a non-technical solution, but and this actually happened with a lot of people, again, applying for the PPP program. It's very important to separate your financial assets. So having a separate personal bank account in another bank away from the bank that holds your business checking account. The reason being is what you're doing is you're diversifying your risk, so that if by any chance you did get hacked, not all of your assets are exposed at one time. I also highly recommend that when you do your online shopping, use only one credit card for your online shopping, use another credit card for other purchases, and even though your debit card may be a credit card, don't use that for your online shopping as well.
And, along those lines, I would add too that, at the beginning of the presentation, Tom touched on cyber crime impacts to your business. Most insurance carriers do offer cyber insurance now, so it's worth at least, calling your agent and finding out how much that might be to add to your plan. Because just like all the businesses out there that are realizing that pandemics don't count as a disaster in their insurance coverage and are not getting refunded loss of revenue, this is the same sort of thing. You think about it after the fact, so it's great to just call your agent, find out what the cost would be to get cyber insurance, because it might not necessarily impact you in terms of the money that you lose, but it can just have a really huge effect on your reputation and everything like that. If your business is down for any particular time because of it, that's loss of revenue, which is also impactful. So those are all the different ways in which cyber insurance can help keep your business going should you fall susceptible to one of these events.
That's great advice. And one of the other things people should consider, if you're in business and have any relationship with legal counsel, just check out your legal liabilities, and that combined with cyber insurance can do quite a bit. You guys have given some great advice. Any other advice for a small business owner out there, like things you absolutely must do? Brandon, thank you, because I have not been shutting down my computers at night, and, and so I'm writing notes to myself, and I don't click on any links or anything, but I don't do a good job with that. And any other just simple steps like small businesses can do to really help additionally protect themselves. And please tell business owners how they can reach you guys as well.
Sure. Yeah, one of the main things that we recommend small businesses is try to make sure that you're just alleviating yourself of the circumstance where you are holding on to sensitive customer data. So these days, there's so many cloud-based or online platforms for things like QuickBooks for your financials. No matter what kind of small business you are, I imagine there's some sort of online software that allows you to operate that business. Whether it's your register, your appointment calendars, your checkout process. If you've heard of like Square, things like that. If you just take the number one thing that we recommend is finding systems like that where they hold and process that sensitive data versus you. And what the difference there is when you're using an online platform and you swipe a credit card, let's say at a checkout, that credit card transaction processes through their servers in their location, wherever that may be. It's not within your walls, so to speak. So when it comes, if let's say you did have a breach of security and credit card information was compromised, that is not your liability because that data did not exist within your walls. So aside from just all things antivirus and protection that we mentioned here, I'd say that's my number one thing that I recommend clients, when and where possible, leverage an online platform to do whatever that form of your or function of your business is to protect yourself. And these days, it's so inexpensive. There's a lot of small business solutions that are out there. So we absolutely recommend that. And, yeah, I guess if anybody had any specific questions, maybe about some of the systems that they use, I'm happy to answer some of those, as we do deal with a lot of small businesses. So we're familiar with most small business point of sale, all the kind of systems that are out there, I guess I should say.
I would add to that, historically or traditionally, a lot of people thought that having software based in the cloud and having data and information in the cloud was less safe. Actually, it is more safe in the cloud. It is highly risky. And I saw some additional questions in here that come up. Explain the importance of having a business continuity plan. Is Google Drive secure? What about document storage? Well, first of all, whenever you're working with a cloud-based application, a software package. So if you're running your business on QuickBooks and you're using QuickBooks in the cloud, so it's not installed on a piece of equipment in your office or that, but you're logging into QuickBooks from wherever. Whatever software you use, make sure you've actually deployed what's called multi-factor authentication. And what that means is basically the software needs to be equipped with the functionality where every time that you log in, or every so often you log in, they send you a text message to your phone with a number, and it verifies that it's actually you. That's what's called it's multi-factor, meaning it's verifying you twice. And that is probably one of the most secure-based ways of ensuring that that's you when you log in. So if you notice, your online banking does that functionality. Google provides that functionality. QuickBooks Online does. If you're using Square to process credit card transactions, that they use multi-factor authentication there as well. So whatever software you're using, yes, it is, from a business continuity standpoint, it is much safer and reliable if it's an online software package. Number two, it's more secure if you're implemented or you're using some type of multi-factor authentication. One last aspect also to add to this is many maybe on the call, you're either in a retail business, you're providing some type of services to the public or that, and you're now saddled with the challenge of doing business a different way. I'll give you an exact case, personal case that I had is I'm trying to get a quote for glass, just to get glass made, and in a certain dimension. I contacted 2 glass companies in my neighborhood, and they have an online. You could submit them an email. I submitted the request to the size of the glass and everything, and it's been 5 days, and they haven't got, neither of the 2 businesses have gotten back to me. And what that tells me is that these small businesses are probably so used to somebody picking up the phone and calling them or walking into their shop, and they're, even though they have it on their website of receiving an email, somebody's not monitoring it and somebody's not responding, because I want to give them my business and nobody's responded. So keep in mind, if you're a small business and you're going to be doing a lot more business via online and communicating via email, and you need to be monitoring that if you have that functionality, because otherwise you're leaving customers hanging out there and money on the table.
And, I saw one of the questions there too that Rich touched on was the importance of having a business continuity plan. We've seen that ourselves firsthand. We're one of the few managed service providers that can say that one of our clients had the holy grail, which is where a complete loss of technology, their building burnt down. But that was always the example we give in the past of why this is necessary. But the current pandemic just demonstrated this for all clients and all businesses. And most people, when they think of business continuity plan, they think of it as an IT thing. It's not. It's part IT, which is the disaster recovery portion. How do you plan for and recover if you lose hardware, software, et cetera? But the business continuity plan also encompasses what does the business do if your business is simply disrupted. So, for example, in March, every business, including the BBB, was scrambling to try to figure out how do we adapt to a remote workforce as fast as possible, and how do we get systems, technology, hardware in place so that we can do that, and how do we operate? Historically, the business continuity plan always seemed like a drill exercise, so a lot of clients wouldn't take it seriously. But now they definitely are. Most of our clients, even by now, have reached out and said, okay, how do we better prepare ourselves for the next time? So this does encompass a lot of the things that we've talked about on the call today. First is, cybersecurity, making sure that your employees, when they adapt to remote workforce, they're operating in a secure and reliable manner. Do they have the ability to be able to work remotely? And what are communication mechanisms and things like that that need to be in place so that staff know what to do and how to act when these sort of things happen? Same things happens if it's a tornado, earthquake, fire. Those are the things that when I mentioned we had a client that had a devastating fire here in Chicago. That was the number one thing that we struggled with. Was a lot of people were asking us because of course the first question is what do I do about a computer or something like that. And then we started to field questions of where do I work? What am I supposed to do? How am I going to get paid? And that's where we had to just simply say, we're the IT guys. We don't know. So the business continuity plan is very necessary, especially now most have seen it. So I would think that if it's difficult to get your organization to bring that topic up, now is a good time, and do it under the guise of if the pandemic happens again, we want to be prepared. How do we adapt the way that we work today? Or let's put a document together to just be our reference. Should this happen, we know what to do. And half the time the document is just there as just that documentation. The activity of creating it is what's most important, is that business leaders or executives have that discussion and sort it out and make decisions and plan for the future.
The other, also to add to that too, from a business continuity standpoint and mobility, is telephone communications. A lot of businesses, you have your cell phone and you have your business line as separate, right? Nowadays, you could actually deploy cloud-based phone technology, which what does that mean? So that's basically you're paying a monthly subscription for multiple phone lines. And so I could actually run an app on my phone, and if somebody calls my office line, it will ring on my laptop and it will ring on my cell phone. And I could see that they're calling me in my office number. But I only need to carry one cell phone because then I also have a separate cell phone number as my personal number. The same thing too is if I'm not in the office, but whoever I'm calling, I want them to feel like I am in the office, and I also don't want them to have my personal number, then I could call them through the app on my phone, and it really looks like I'm calling them from my office. So when you deploy this type of technology, it's basically a subscription-based service, and everything you do and how many lines you issue, who you assign them to, and everything is done really online. And you don't really need a phone line really going into your office, and you could truly operate anywhere.
This is all wonderful information. I just want to let everybody know this was just planned early this morning, but if you want to mark down your calendars for May 28th from 11 till noon, the BACP Commissioner, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, who are kind enough to host these workshops, the Commissioner, the CEO of the Better Business Bureau, Steve Burnis, and also Todd Casso from the FTC will be all together, and we'll probably have either the AG's office or the FBI with us. I know someone was asking earlier about international scammers, that type of thing. But the FTC is seeing a lot of the same things that we're seeing that businesses are really having to fend off. So we'll keep you posted, and I'm sure we'll work with the crew at BACP to make sure you get that notice. But again, that'll be May 28th from 11 to noon. I just want to throw that out there. And as I promised, Rich and Brandon are the guys with the greatest of information. How does one get a hold of Sagin in case they'd like to get a hold of you guys?
Sure. All you have to do is you could email us at info, I-N-F-O, at Sagin, it's spelled S-A-G-I-N, LLC.com.
Okay. With that, if there are any more questions, we'll answer them real quickly. I don't see anything at this moment in chat. Does anybody see anything? Or we can wrap this up and thank everybody for attending. We really appreciate your time. We know there's a lot of webinars out there. We know there's a lot to do, and things have gotten very, very busy and not in normal times. And we really want to thank you for your time. Richard, Brandon, I can't thank you guys enough. As you know, we turn to you often for any type of this advice. We know you're on the forefront of it, and I want to just triply thank Business Affairs and Consumer Protection for making these type of series available to everyone, and it's really a pleasure to participate in it.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you both. Yes, thank you. I believe all questions were answered. So once again, thank you for joining the webinars.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone.